In John chapter 6, Jesus is walking along with his disciples. There's this large crowd of people, an epic crowd, and they are following the little Jesus roadshow, trying to see what he's going to do next. They want to see some signs and wonders, maybe a miracle or two. And Jesus sits down on this mountainside, and he just kind of starts to teach his disciples, and then he sees this immense crowd coming towards him. And he has compassion for them, and he starts talking to his disciples, and he's like, look at all these people that are coming. Maybe we should buy them some lunch. Maybe we should get them a little snack or something. He talks to Philip, and he's like, where's a place where we can buy them, enough bread to eat? And Philip is like, hey, you got me, man. This isn't going to work. There's way too many people. We don't have anything. And then one of his disciples, Andrew, says, I just saw this little boy. He's down the mountain. He has a little lunchbox, got a little Spider-Man lunchbox, and there are 5 loaves of bread in there. There's 2 fish. But do the math. That's a lot of people coming up. It will never work. This isn't going to happen. Look at all those people. Look at how little food we have. This is barely enough for us, let alone them. And Jesus ignores the math. Jesus ignores what is obvious. And he says, hey, just have the people sit down. Tell the people to sit down. And then verse 10 of John chapter 6 says this. They all sat down together on a large grassy area. Those counting the people reported approximately 5,000 men, not including the women and children. So we look at this a lot of times and we talk about this is the feeding of the 5,000, which is pretty impressive, but that's 5,000 dudes. There are also a lot of women and children there too. So we're talking about probably at least 15,000 people that Jesus is going to feed with 5 loaves of bread and just a couple of fish. And so here we go. Jesus picks up the bread. He gives thanks to God. He passes it to everyone. He repeated this ritual with the fish. Men, women, and children all ate until their hearts were content. So they ate until they were totally full, until they couldn't eat anymore. And they're sitting around. It's like Thanksgiving Day. And Jesus has taken care of their physical need. He had compassion on them. He heard their stomach growling as they were coming up the mountain and knew what was going on. And so he took care of them. It's a beautiful thing. Then they have 12 baskets of leftovers that they collect. It's an amazing deal. Now, skip on down to verse 26, because the people are still following him, and Jesus goes off, and he walks on the water, and then the people finally find him the next day, and he realizes that they're just following him because they want a free lunch. They're following him because they think he's like a holy food truck or something, and they want more. And Jesus tells them this in verse 26, I tell you the truth, you are tracking me down because I fed you, not because you saw signs from God. Don't spend your life chasing food that spoils and rots. Instead, seek the food that lasts into all ages and comes from the Son of Man, the one on whom God the Father has placed his seal. And then he tells him in verse 33, the bread of God comes down out of heaven and breathes life into the cosmos. In verse 35, I am the bread that gives life. If you come to my table and eat, you will never go hungry. So Jesus has given them physical bread, and then he turns around and says, hey, guess what? I am the bread of life. I'm what you really need. Sometimes my stomach growls when I get hungry. It's just its way of telling me that it needs a little food down there, and it's like, makes weird noises. It's especially embarrassing in quiet places like church or libraries or things like that. And you're sitting there and you get kind of hungry and you're, well, sometimes my soul growls too. And the only thing that's going to satisfy my soul hunger is Jesus. And that's what he's saying. He's saying, I am the bread of life. Bread is a staple food. It's something we need to live. And when our soul growls, Jesus is the only thing that's going to satisfy a hungry soul. Now, at this point, a lot of his disciples split because they're overwhelmed. This blows their mind. And so they put themselves on a spiritual carb-free diet, and they get out of there. Don't do that. Okay, realize that Jesus is what you need to satisfy your soul hunger. And realize that we have a God that is concerned about us physically, but also spiritually. And he wants to meet our needs in every possible way. God bless you guys. Giddy up.